Welcome to the Daily Globe. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In a seismic decision, the U.S. Supreme Court has struck down the Trump-era tariffs imposed under a national emergency, declaring them unlawful. This ruling dismantles a key element of recent American trade policy and marks a major check on presidential power. The decision, announced December 8, 2025, throws U.S. trade relations into uncertainty and forces a dramatic policy reset. For businesses and workers worldwide, the implications are immediate. Tariffs that shaped global supply chains may vanish overnight. The court found that using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, to justify blanket tariffs overstepped presidential authority. Billions collected in tariffs are now in question, and the White House must rethink its trade strategy. International partners are watching closely. Will tariffs be refunded? What new tools will the administration use? The answers will shape the future of global trade and America's economic playbook. Tariffs are essentially taxes placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. When a product crosses a border, the government can impose a fee, or tariff, on it. This fee is paid by the importer, but it often gets passed along to consumers in the form of higher prices. Tariffs can apply to a wide range of products, from raw materials like steel and aluminum to everyday items like clothing, electronics, and even food. The main idea behind tariffs is to make foreign products more expensive, so that American-made goods become more attractive to buyers. By raising the cost of imports, tariffs are meant to encourage people and businesses to buy products made in the United States, which in turn is supposed to help domestic industries grow and create jobs. Historically, tariffs were a major source of revenue for the U.S. government, especially in the 18th and 19th centuries, before the federal income tax existed. Customs houses at busy ports collected these taxes, helping to fund the government's operations and infrastructure. But in the modern era, tariffs have shifted from being a primary funding source to a powerful tool for economic leverage and political pressure. Governments now use tariffs to influence trade relationships, negotiate better deals, or retaliate against what they see as unfair practices by other countries. The Trump administration brought tariffs back into the spotlight, using them as a weapon to counter what it saw as unfair trade practices, especially with China. The goal was to protect American jobs and industries that were struggling to compete with cheaper imports, and to pressure trading partners to change their policies. This approach marked a sharp break from decades of bipartisan support for free trade agreements, which aimed to lower barriers and encourage global commerce. Suddenly, tariffs were back at the center of U.S. economic policy, sparking debate across the political spectrum. Tariffs didn't just target economic rivals like China. They also affected close allies, leading to tensions with countries like Canada and the European Union. The new tariffs disrupted global supply chains, making it harder for companies to get the parts and materials they needed, and raising costs on everything from steel to washing machines. While some U.S. industries, like steel and aluminum, gained protection and saw a boost in business, many American companies faced higher costs for imported materials. Small businesses, in particular, struggled to absorb these costs, often passing them on to consumers in the form of higher prices for everyday goods. Some factories even had to close, unable to compete in the new environment. The result was a contentious and uncertain economic environment, with heated debates over whether tariffs were helping or hurting the country. The new era of trade battles led to protests, market volatility, and deep divisions among policymakers, businesses, and workers. These sweeping trade policies didn't just spark economic debate, they also set the stage for major legal challenges. Some of these disputes escalated all the way to the Supreme Court, as businesses and lawmakers questioned the limits of presidential power over trade. Today, the debate over tariffs is front and center in America's economic future, shaping how the country navigates globalization, competition, and its role in the world economy. The Supreme Court case centered on whether the president could use IEEPA to impose sweeping tariffs by declaring a national emergency. Traditionally, IEEPA targeted foreign threats, not general trade policy. The Trump administration's use of IEEPA for tariffs on most imports, citing fentanyl trafficking, sparked lawsuits from businesses large and small. Plaintiffs argued Congress never intended IEEPA for broad tariff setting, a power reserved for lawmakers. Lower courts split on the issue, making Supreme Court review inevitable. In oral arguments, justices pressed both sides on the limits of presidential power. The court ultimately sided with challengers, setting a new precedent for the separation of powers in trade. The Supreme Court's ruling has put tens of billions in tariff revenue at stake. Companies that paid these tariffs may now be eligible for refunds, a potential lifeline for businesses strained by years of extra costs. Major corporations and small importers alike are preparing claims, but the refund process will be complex and slow. The Treasury faces a massive administrative challenge and a sudden budget shortfall. For businesses, the end of these tariffs means rethinking supply chains and pricing models yet again. The ruling brings relief but also new instability as companies scramble to adapt. Policymakers must now address both the fiscal fallout and the need for a new trade framework. The economic landscape has shifted overnight, and uncertainty reigns. The real impact of tariffs isn't just found in economic reports or government statements, it's seen in the daily struggles and triumphs of American businesses. Across the country, small business owners are facing challenges that go far beyond numbers on a spreadsheet. Their stories reveal the true cost of trade wars and the resilience it takes to survive them. Take Beth Finbo, founder of Busy Baby in Minnesota. When tariffs on her imported infant placemats skyrocketed to as much as 145%, she was forced to make impossible choices. Shipments ground to a halt, and Beth had to absorb massive costs just to keep her business afloat. For a small company, these kinds of sudden expenses can threaten everything you've built, putting dreams and livelihoods on the line. At Green Bar Distillery in Los Angeles, the story is much the same. Import taxes on essential ingredients soared overnight, leaving the owners scrambling to cover costs. The threat of layoffs loomed large, and the very survival of the business was at stake. For many craft producers, these tariffs meant the difference between growth and closure. In North Carolina, Thompson traders faced a similar crisis. Paying over $1 million a year in tariffs, years of hard-earned profits vanished almost overnight. What was once a thriving business became a constant struggle to stay afloat, as every dollar paid in tariffs was a dollar lost to innovation, hiring, or expansion. These businesses, and countless others, have been forced to make tough decisions, raising prices for customers, cutting jobs, or putting growth plans on hold. All of this, not because of market forces, but because of trade policies set far away in Washington, D.C. The ripple effects are felt in every corner of the community. The Supreme Court's recent decision offers a glimmer of hope. Some businesses may finally see refunds for the tariffs they paid, but for many, the financial scars run deep, and the road to recovery will be long and uncertain. These stories make it clear. Tariffs, which are often intended to protect American industries, can end up hurting the very people they're supposed to help. The consequences ripple out, affecting families, employees, and entire communities. The human cost of trade wars is real and lasting. Behind every statistic is a family, a dream, and a future put at risk. For many small business owners, the Supreme Court ruling is a chance to recover and rebuild, but the uncertainty isn't over, and the resilience of America's entrepreneurs will continue to be tested in the days ahead. The Supreme Court's decision sends shockwaves through both the political and economic landscapes of the nation, reverberating far beyond the courtroom. It's a moment that instantly grabs the attention of lawmakers, business leaders, and everyday Americans alike, as the implications begin to unfold. Politically, the ruling directly challenges the executive branch's America First doctrine, raising questions about the limits of presidential power. It may also serve as a wake-up call for Congress, prompting lawmakers to reconsider their own role in shaping trade policy and possibly motivating them to reclaim some of the authority they've ceded over the years. The decision could become a rare catalyst for bipartisan cooperation, as both parties recognize the need to clarify and potentially limit the president's ability to impose tariffs unilaterally. Behind closed doors, discussions intensify as lawmakers debate new legislation to restore checks and balances in trade matters. Economically, the abrupt end of sweeping tariffs brings immediate relief to some industries, especially those that rely on imported materials or global supply chains. However, for sectors that had grown dependent on tariff protections, the sudden change introduces new risks and uncertainty, leaving some businesses scrambling to adapt. The resulting instability makes it harder for companies to plan for the future. With shifting rules and unpredictable costs, long-term investment and hiring decisions are put on hold, as executives wait to see how the new legal and political landscape will settle. On the global stage, U.S.-China relations are suddenly in flux. The White House loses a powerful bargaining chip, forcing American negotiators to rethink their approach. Chinese officials, meanwhile, weigh their own next moves as both sides adjust to a new reality. International partners and rivals alike are watching closely, wondering if the US will now pivot toward more collaborative multilateral trade policies. The decision could reshape alliances and trade agreements, influencing global commerce for years to come. For American consumers, the end of tariffs may offer some relief from rising prices, potentially easing inflation at the checkout counter. But don't expect direct refunds. Most of the extra costs have already been absorbed into the prices of everyday goods, and it may take time for any savings to trickle down. Perhaps the most significant impact will be on jobs, as businesses regain financial breathing room. Some may ramp up hiring or reopen shuttered operations, offering hope to workers and communities hit hardest by trade wars. Ultimately, the Supreme Court's ruling marks a dramatic turning point. The path forward is uncertain, filled with both risks and opportunities, as the nation navigates a new era in trade, politics, and economic policy. The scale of the tariff experiment is best seen in the data. U.S. tariff revenue soared after 2018, placing a massive financial burden on importers and indirectly consumers. Each dollar collected was a dollar not spent on innovation or jobs. The Supreme Court's decision now threatens this revenue stream and opens the door to billions in refunds. Policymakers face a dual challenge: repaying importers and adjusting to a budget without tariff income. The numbers make clear just how disruptive and costly this trade policy has been. With the Supreme Court's ruling, the administration faces critical choices. Officials have signaled they'll use other legal tools to reimpose tariffs, keeping trade pressure alive. Section 122 of the Trade Act allows temporary tariffs, while Section 301 and Section 232 offer more durable options. These laws weren't challenged in court and remain available. The administration could also seek congressional approval for new tariffs, creating a more stable legal foundation. Each path has trade-offs: speed, durability, and political risk. The next move will reveal the administration's strategy for the rest of its term. The trade war isn't over, it's just evolving. The Supreme Court's decision is a pivotal moment for America and the world. It exposes how trade policy decisions ripple from Washington to factory floors and family budgets nationwide. The uncertainty ahead affects businesses, consumers, and the job market. Tariffs and trade rules aren't just political debates, they shape everyday life. This ruling opens the door for a national conversation about America's economic future. The choices made now will define prosperity and stability for years to come. In our interconnected world, trade policy is the architecture of shared prosperity, and today, that foundation has shifted.